We've also got an interview coming up with Jason Kendall. Jason Kendall, by the way, a couple of weeks ago, we talked to head coach Marlon Taylor of the Laura Richland Diamond Hornets, and Laura Richland did get a win last night. I want to hit the scoreboard here in a second. But Jason Kendall and Kendall Projects is doing a series on Laura Richland. It's called Underestimated, Fourth Down and Forever, a Laura Richland football story. And this is really interesting, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear the conversation that Jason and I had yesterday. It's fascinating the work he's doing to highlight this team specifically and this program and this community specifically. Because when you look across Richland County and Lexington County and really in the Midlands, Laura Richland's one of those teams that gets kind of left off over here in the back. But if you look at their history as a program and as a school, the bona fide talents that have come out of that school in a multitude of areas, in the arts and the athletics, whatever, it's a who's who of alumni from Laura Richland. So really excited for you guys to hear that conversation. You will hear that conversation with Jason Kendall next on The Game, joined by Jason Kendall of Kendall Projects. And Jason is working on something that we actually talked with Coach Marlon Taylor at Laura Richland about just a couple of weeks ago when Elijah sat down with the head coach of the Diamond Hornets. Jason, tell the folks who are listening tonight and maybe listening down the road what exactly you're working on over at Laura Richland.
Well, we had an opportunity to spend some time with Laura Richland last year to do some test footage. We were trying to move from doing more college-based storytelling and corporate-based storytelling to high school football, and we did 3 test episodes for Laura Richland, about each of them being about 15 minutes long, and the story just really kind of jumped off the screen. And so we decided to pitch them to do a full-length documentary series this season for several reasons, mainly because they have 25 seniors on their team this year and a set of staff that have been with those seniors for almost 5 years. A lot of the staff was actually started with those kids when they were in 8th grade, and they have followed them on into the high school career. So they've been together for 5 years, most of them, and the story of a set of, lack of a better word, underdogs, I think is probably the best underdog story in the state right now. And we're calling it Underestimated just because I think those kids are completely underestimated. The program is underestimated, and the set of circumstances they're trying to fight against is really unique in a lot of different ways, both for where the community is, where the school is, and the history of the program, and where they're trying to come, how far they're trying to come back to that legacy of the program. So, yeah, that's where we're at.
And they have a rich history for sure. I think if you've ever been inside of Laura Richland, if you make the trip down to Hopkins, you'll see just within their auditorium the distinguished alumni that have come out of that school. It's pretty impressive, and a lot of that goes back to when they were considered the Diamonds and not the Diamond Hornets, which I'll always know them as the Diamonds. But when I heard about this project, and I heard about it before our conversation with Coach Taylor, but then I really started to put the pieces together a little bit. And my immediate reaction, and we talked about this before we came on air, my immediate reaction, ashamedly, was Laura Richland, not, and I'm thinking of a Midland school, not Flora, not Dreer, not Irmo, not Dutch Fort. So you mentioned a little bit of that just a few seconds ago, but compared to those others, how important is it to get the story of an organization, a community, a school, a program like Laura Richland out over, not necessarily that they're more important, but over the programs you always hear about?
Sure. Those programs you mentioned also are, their stories are important. Mm-hmm. Me being a former high school football program in the area many years ago, I understand how the rich traditions for all these programs to tell their stories, how important that is. Mm-hmm. Laura Richland has, the first thing that really drove me to Laura Richland, I really believe that's from as a high school football fan, I don't think they should be a 4A. One, I think they're miscategorized. I think they're in the wrong region. Their bye week is the last week of the season.
Insanity,
right? And then as you're starting the new transfer rule that went on this year, they did not gain a single kid from the transfer. They lost about 12 kids from the transfer rule going to those other schools that you're talking about. So they're not their back is against the wall in so many different ways. And after talking to Coach Taylor and really spending time last season with the kids that would be seniors this year, some of those kids, their great and great-great-grandparents went to school there, and they're carrying on this tradition of being, alumni of Lower Richland. It was just this heartfelt underdog story again that I just had to dig into and figure out how we can make this happen.
I think that's what's so important, and what people miss often is the heart behind high school football in this state and high school athletics in this state. Obviously, Aspen Bulware from Gray Collegiate just committed to play softball at the University of South Carolina. She's the number 1 commit in the country when it comes to softball. So there are stories like this all around. Yeah. But the connection for many is it's Friday night. And my grandparents went to Lower Richland, and I've been going to games since I was a kid. And then I went there, I played there, and now my kids are in elementary and middle school, but they're going to matriculate up to that school. And fill in the blank. We're talking LR, but fill in the blank at whatever, at whatever town. And that's what's so important. And I believe that's why I'm so glad that you're doing something like this in a high-quality manner, is connecting community to team, and then taking that community and that team and connecting it to the state at large. Right. Because these are stories, if you're rooted in the upstate, you're going to hear about Burns, Dorman, Gaffney, Northwestern, Spartanburg, J.L. Mann, Greenville, Riverside, Greenwood. Yep. I just rattled off about 10. Yep. You're not going to hear about Lower Richland.
Correct. And I think that's exactly right. And another thing that we've, us being, big football fans and watching the trajectory of how the sport is changing, these stories are going to go away. I mean, I may be wrong in this, but this idea of transferring, I think it's not going away. I think the ability for high school kids to move schools according to programs, I don't think that challenge is going to go away. And I think that you having a group of 25 seniors on a football team is going to be rare, if ever happen again in this kind of situation. So, I think there are several other great stories happening around the state right now that I wish I could be telling as well. We can talk about those too, but it's a home. It's close to my house. It's not. I can dig in. I can get to know the community. Now I feel like I'm actually part of the team. I've been with them for almost 2 years now. And it's just been a great experience diving in to their story. I think they've overcome incredibly large challenges to have the season that they've had so far. And even going into this week against Wilson tonight, their challenges are just mounting. And then they're going to play, they're going to end up playing South Florence the last game of the season, which is, David and Goliath stories always exist, and but to be a giant killer on that last game of the season is going to require an act of God.
Yeah, and you mentioned the region, and I know we're talking about the media product, but I just want to put out that it's insanity that Lower Richland is in the same region as Darlington and South Florence. Correct. I find it almost absurd. I'm
or even
close to
Batesburg,
absurd.
Leesville as well. That's another one.
Yeah, it's a very weird setup. Okay, so let's get to, obviously, on social media. Folks can find you guys on X at Kindle Projects on X, formerly known as Twitter, which it'll always be to me. How can people key in on what you're doing, and then how can they help in any way what you guys are doing?
Okay, so everything's Kindle Projects is one word, all lowercase, KENDALL projects, plural. .com is our website. Everything's also on there, all links to all our socials, all that. On IG, too, that's Kindle Projects Media and Design. Facebook, Kindle Projects Media and Design. It's all the same. Again, you go to the website and jump over to any of our stuff. We do have a weekly blog, too, we post. Just about a process we're going through, what our hopes are for the company, what we hope to accomplish by telling these. What we're calling it is we're thinking about what we're doing as a ministry for courageous storytelling, offering insight into stories, young men's stories, or young people, young athletes' stories that may or may not be able to be told. Right now, we are we've gone into debt to tell this project on a lot of different ways, and we have just now started the fundraising process to finish the story. I'm basically doing the job of 4 or 5 production people, and then my wife is also doing the job of 4 other people that are trying to bring this story to the end in production. So we are wrapping up in a couple weeks, and then we've got to put this together and try to get it out. So we're trying to raise funds to do that. And so what that means is you can donate, and then as a private individual, you'll give you a tax credit on that. We're using a 501c to get that done. And also, we are looking for sponsors. We'll slap your name on this. We will do shoot spots for you to be part of this. We're trying to talk to Founders Bank right now because they're a big part of the second episode because the boys go through a financial literacy class.
Awesome.
And we shot that with them. So kindleprojects.com, if you go to the Underestimated series page, there is a link to our fundraising on there. And we are looking for sponsors and all that information to do that as well. And you can contact me through that page, all our pages as well.
I've seen a few of the clips. We had Coach Marlon Taylor in here a couple of weeks ago, and again, Justin Hall here with Jason Kendall of Kendall Projects talking about this docuseries on Laurel Richland football that'll be coming out here relatively soon, we assume. And so we're excited about that. Underestimated the title of that series. We had Coach Marlon Taylor in here a couple of weeks ago. Your interactions with him, he is a bona fide football guy, in my opinion. We get coaches in here, and you can just tell that they're football guys. Yeah. What have been your interactions with him?
Coach Taylor is a giant teddy bear, man. He is. I love his style of coaching because he is definitely not a yell and scream type guy. He's a very much like a father figure. He talks with the kids. One of the biggest issues when you're doing a project like this is access. Mm-hmm. Coaches have always, in my experience, they're always weary of what you're going to do for them and how you're going to portray them. Coach Taylor really trusted me from the start last year. We did a spot for their 7-on-7 tournament last year, and he was like, okay, I see what you can do. Let's do whatever you want, really. And he has been so open and honest and forthright with how he's been able to allow me to tell his story, his coach's story, and the boys' story. And then he's given me everything that I need as far as access, and that's been really, really important.
Again, Jason Kendall with kindleprojects.com talking about the Underestimated series that'll be coming out, as they have been following Lower Richland football since the spring and on into the month of June, through the summer, through the fall, and who knows where that's going to end up with a playoff run for the Diamond Hornets here down the road. Jason, thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Of course. We'll be getting these out. I'm going to start sharing some of these on my personal socials, so make sure you follow me there on Twitter. We'll have more about that, and we'll talk more about this as the night rolls on. More of the High School Scoreboard Show presented by Cotman Transmission coming up.
To support this project, scan the QR code and directly support this powerful production. We're actively seeking sponsorship partners who want to align with powerful community-driven storytelling. Get in touch with Kindle Projects Media and Design at www.kindleprojects.com. Now is the time to show the world what underestimated really means.